Another thing to bear in mind is that the supercharger might need clocking. On the supercharger, these two oil inlets, oil ports, one's inlet, that's oil in, that's oil out, have to be at the top, and on the bottom here you can see it says Rotrex C15, this side down, so it has to sit that way in the car. Now at the moment that's pointing up the hill, and on all the pictures from Specialist Components that you've seen, it's like that, with that being your engine block here and that pointing down towards the front of your subframe. So that's something to bear in mind. Now the only problem is I haven't got the bracket that goes on the front to hold this in place yet, so I can't work out exactly where it needs to be. Obviously I'm slightly different because I don't have the alternator sitting here, there's no room for it, so I might be able to have that in that orientation as it is now, and then have a 90 degree coming off here going down that way towards where my throttle body is. I'll show you what I mean on the block. Now I realise it's a little bit hard to see because I haven't got a lot of light in it here at the moment, but at the moment, oops, the supercharger is going to sit somewhere about the, pardon me, about there. I don't know where, because obviously this is the bracket that goes from here to here that I don't have. So there is a possibility of, depending where it sits, that I can run a 90 degree silicone pipe off there and then head it down that way. You can see this bit up here, you can just sort of see at the top of frame is the underside of the plenum chamber, and have my pipe coming down to this far end, if you can see my hand waving there above the oil filter, and then looping round into my throttle body. But as I said, the standard configuration I've seen so far is to have it like that, with that pointing down towards the front of the subframe. The only issue I've got on Bumblebee is that this engine is moved forward, and you can bet 10 to a dozen that that's going to be getting close towards where the subframe is. Also, I should have an oil cooler, and I want to put that at the front on the subframe, which would mean that there would be a much better proposition for me. But until I've got this bracket that goes here, I can't really say. And just holding that, that's quite heavy. I'm getting out of breath holding that one on one arm outstretched. So there's a bit of weight in that supercharger, so it needs to be a fairly sturdy bracket that sits there. Okay then, another day back in the garage, now back in the workshop. What I've done is I've got the timing gear on, I've checked across to make sure that they're lined up, added a couple of shims behind the crank, cog, wheel, whatever you want to call it, so it all lines up nicely with the steel edge. Put the timing chain on, aligned the dots, dropped it all into place. Now I'm setting the cam timing. I've established where top dead center is and put a little pointer here that you can see. This is my timing wheel, you know, for measuring the top dead, the lift on the cam. I've just started to turn it, and I wanted to show you where the conrod bolt is touching the cam lobe. On an earlier video somebody was asking about it, I can't remember who it was, sorry, and I said that the best answer is to use an S crank as he's supposed to, because he's got smaller big end bearings, and obviously the whole thing's smaller, so it doesn't interfere with your cam. But this isn't, and I'm going to show you where it catches. Now, if it'll focus, you see that tiny corner of the cam lobe there? That's it hitting the conrod bolt, or the head of the conrod bolt. So what I'm going to have to do is take out this conrod bolt here, rotate the engine away, take out the conrod bolt, and then put a chamfer on the corner just to get that to clear, because as I zoom in, that's as far as that can go. you can see it only is just to say touching. So I'll do that, and then I'll turn it and start setting the cam timing, and I'll probably have to do the same on that one up here at the top. It'll be between the corner of that second cam lobe and the corner of the bolt there. I'll do this one, bottom one first, and then keep on turning it until it clears, and then it'll probably catch on the top one. I'll have to do the same there. Okay, I've had a change of plan. I started to modify that conrod bolt, and it seemed to be taking an awful lot off it compared to what I've done in the past. So I thought what I'd do is I'd take out the conrod bolt that was catching and set the cam timing, which is what you can see here, and once the cam timing was set, I can have a look again at the conrod bolts to see which one was catching, and then I'll only have to take the minimum off it, rather than perhaps taking too much off the bolt, and just take the minimum amount for it to clear the cam lobe. So the cam timing's all set. I've been through it 4 or 5 times now. I had to adjust the cam vernier. So what I'm going to do is strip it all down. They're tight. I'm going to mark everything up to say I've tightened everything up, mark it to say it's tightened, and then tip the engine back over on its end onto my support wood so I can get access to the conrod bolts from underneath. Well, it'll be on the side as I'm working on it. Welcome back to the Mini Performance Workshops. It's Friday evening, and last week's video is just going live about now. I think in that one I did detail that Specialist Components said they were going to send me some stuff for the end of the week or beginning of the next week. Well, the beginning of the next week will be this week. It's just ending now, and it'll be no great surprise to many people the parts didn't arrive when they said. I gave them until like Tuesday, I think it was, and then I sent him an email asking Jack where stuff was, and he said it'd be here on Thursday, and it was here on Friday. So stuff's here now, and what I'm going to do, just to tail end this section of video, this episode 7, is to open up the stuff that's arrived today. I've opened up as again, like the last unboxing video, I've opened it up and I've got rid of all the poly chips that are in there, and I know there's some parts missing already. Again, there's no dispatch note or delivery note or list of what's in there or what they do, anything like that, so it'll just be a case of slicing open the packages to see what's what. I've done some more work on the engine since the last video, on the timing cover. The timing cover's changed totally, and the bottom pulley has been worked on, but I'll probably chop that footage and put it in the next video, which will be episode 8, which will be more intensive build sort of bits and pieces. But for now, we'll just concentrate on opening up the box from today and seeing what's arrived and what sort of, well, just what it is basically. Okay, so here we have our box of parts and the all-important cup of coffee. Right, obviously, I know what that is. It's a drive belt. It's 6 PK 1195, so 6 rib 1195 long, I think that means. I thought it was a 5 rib belt, but never mind. Yes, that's a bag of screwy things. No idea what they're for. I guess they could be to hold the supercharger on with, because there's got to be some bolts required for that, but I don't know why there's so many, because I'm looking at the supercharger down there at the end plate and there's only 3 holes spare, so we'll see what happens with that. That is the bolt for the timing pulley. I recognise that. Oh, for the timing pulley, yeah, for the timing pulley, tensioner pulley, idler pulley, whatever you want to call it. I know what that is anyway. This must be the air temperature sensor that's able to withstand boost, and it is different to the one I had before, so that's cool. Now all this stuff's randomly wrapped up. We'll open this one first because I think this is the bracket that holds the supercharger to the block, rather than my hand like in the previous bits of footage. Once again, usual wrapping. Everything's quite well wrapped, but you just don't know what stuff is, and you don't know if you've got everything because there's never any correspondence to say. Alright, that can go in the bin. I'll keep the bubble wrap. Okay, so that's what holds the supercharger. Maybe these 4 bolts go through there because there's 4 holes and that holds the supercharger. And then why is only 2? Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try and work that one out. But that's the bracket that holds the supercharger to the end plate or front plate, whatever you want to call it, as I've said before. Feels like a pulley of some sort. Right, it is a pulley. That must be the alternator pulley. Yeah, it's definitely a lot thicker than I thought. It looks to be thicker than the bottom pulley, but we'll see. So that's the alternator pulley. And then I've seen the other one, this will be the water pump pulley. There you go, that's a DSM part, I recognise that. It's quite a nice bit of kit, nicely machined, alloy, nice and light. Yeah. What we got here? Right, I know what this is as well. This is the adapter to hold that temperature sensor. Obviously the specialist components, throttle body is 50mm and that is the same. So I think as part of my induction system, if that's the right word, going from the supercharger to the throttle body, I have to step up in size because the supercharger is 45mm and then the throttle body is 70mm. So I'll need to go up in size because you can't go straight from 45 to 70 in a reducer as they're described on the catalogues. You can go 45 to 51 and then 51 up to 70, which is the way I'll do it, and probably go through that as a means of joining the pipes together with that sensor in there. But now that I've got all these parts, I'll be able to work out length of pipe and stuff I need to order. I've got tons of it in my shopping list on eBay. I've tried to think of every combination I could possibly need, and I'll work from there. Alright, so that's the idler pulley, we're going to call it. And that must be what that bolt goes through. I don't know, there must be another bit somewhere that goes inside that, because that's not going to line up. Let's have a look. What's that? That could be the bit that goes inside it. It looks like it to me. So that bolt goes inside there, and then that goes inside the pulley, or doesn't. Or if it does, it's a really tight fit. Yeah. It might just need a bit of a rub down with some emery to get rid of the coating on it that's making it tight, because that's not going to go in there. Oh yes, it's got in now. It's got in now. I tell a lie. If anything, I could do with 2 of those, because I'm probably going to need a second idler to make the belt bend around the cylinder head and up to the alternator. But we'll get to that in a minute. And that means the parts that are left are probably parts I don't need, to be fair, which will be to hold the alternator. Yeah, these are alternator spacing parts. I recognise them from the pictures I've seen. I don't know how they work, but there's two like bobbin type things, and then this is the little bracket that goes on the block to hold your alternator in place. I'm not going to be needing that unless I can find some way of using it in my homemade alternator bracket. I'm not sure. I might be able to. I might be able to use that. I'm not sure yet, because I've got some designs mocked up, but them two parts are going to be surplus to requirement, I think. But that one I might be able to use, so be handy. Right, so what am I still missing? I think, well, obviously I know I'm still missing the oil cooler. When I got in from site this afternoon, late this afternoon, I sent them an email asking what's the story with this oil cooler, because it's shown in all the documentation from Rotrex telling you how to connect it all up. So I'm confused as to whether it comes from Rotrex as part of the oil system, or it comes from specialist components. So I've asked what's going on, where is it, and when I get a reply I'll go from there. So in the box of supercharger parts there's this manual setup and maintenance, and it shows you the oil parts. You can see that in the bottom there, and that is an oil cooler with obviously the various parts that I've previously shown on video. And then this diagram shows how it all connects up. It does say that the supercharger has to be at that level there, and this canister and the magnetic oil filter need to be below the centre line of the supercharger. I'm not sure how vital that will be, or even how feasible it's going to be inside a mini engine bay, but it does, well, this one here, it tells you about the rights and the wrongs, where it shows the canister up above, which is definitely not good, and then down below is thumbs up. So yeah, so I don't know where this oil cooler is, and it would be good to get it sooner rather than later, I suppose, although I don't need it until I start putting the stuff in the car, and I won't be doing that until I've finished this dry assembly here and got me alternator mounting fabricated and the extra idler that I think I'm going to need as well. Until that fab is dry, run and tested, I won't be putting it in the car. And obviously I've only got 2 weeks to go to my deadline now of when I wanted it to be running, but with parts being over a month behind, that's me a month behind now, so I'm really struggling to get stuff done before the start of the show season. So that's it for episode 7. Episode 8 I'll show you what I've done to the timing cover, I'll show you what I've done to the bottom pulley and the timing ring gear that I got, how that fits, and I'll start putting these supercharger parts together and work out how it all goes, see what room I've got between the supercharger, the air filter and the oil pressure takeoff point, because I have heard that the filter is too long and it gets pushed away from the block by the parts that screw into the block, and I've been looking for a shorter air filter to replace the one that specialist components send to make it fit better. Yeah, I'll just go from there. I'll just continue my dry build and hopefully get a bit further with this alternator bracket. But that's it for now, and the battery's about to run out, so that'll do, and I'll see you next time.